Your funnel's not broken.
Right.
You just don't understand your. Oftentimes, you actually will see people with reasonably good product, terrible landing pages.
Sometimes the very best funnels, the very best copy has the shittiest product at the end of it. Most of us that do start a business, weirdly enough, almost start the business by accident. Worst thing that can happen to you when you start a business is it doesn't work. The second worst thing that can happen, maybe even the first worst thing that can happen, is it does.
Marketers are gamblers. That's all they're doing is ching, ching,
right.
ching.
More than they want money, they want to be right.
100%.
Yeah.
Operators want money. They don't care to be right. We want to do the right thing.
Funnels sound like the simplest thing in the world.
They're a puzzle.
People will not give you their money without first giving you their time. That is a fact.
You can have great marketing, poor execution.
A good copywriter spends 95% of their time trying to figure out how they're going to. There's nothing that will change the world more than emotional storytelling.
One big swing at a time.
So all these people say, yeah, price doesn't matter if you sell it good enough. Horse shit. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Trainwreck Show. I'm Perry Belcher, the unstoppable force of sales and marketing, joined here by Emma Rainville, the queen of ops.
Why do you keep calling me that?
Because you are the immovable object of operations, who today is answering the question, what happened to that blue fluffy shirt tuxedo that I wore to prom? Hey Emma, how you doing? What? You look great. So, other than you staring at me, wanting to throw daggers in my eyes, what are we going to talk about today?
A topic that I really love. People come to us all the time and they say, my funnel's broken, my funnel's broken, my funnel's broken, my product's great, I don't understand.
The world is ending, the sky is falling, oh no.
Your funnel's not broken.
Right.
You just don't understand your buyers.
You're broken. You may be broken, yeah.
You just don't understand your buyers. And so I want to kind of walk through today. I love this because oftentimes you actually will see people with reasonably good products, terrible landing pages, copy that doesn't resonate with their buyers. So I'd like to...
And sometimes the very best funnels, the very best copy has the shittiest product at the end of it. Yeah. Yeah, right. One way or the other.
$30,000 funnel and on the end is a $2 watch from China.
Right, yeah.
So I'd love to walk through... We have a whole process that you utilize for any product we sell, whether it's Driven Mastermind, Ignite Mastermind, whether it's an actual product that we're selling, sure. Make it real, breaking point. Like no matter what it is that we're selling, you want to understand the buyer. You want to understand how the buyer thinks. You want to understand what you need to say to the buyer. So kind of walk me through
and in
that.
what voice.
And in what voice.
So like when we do Make It Real is a thing Em and I do together where we bring a bunch of people in that are just starting their business or they've started a business accidentally and it's not performing well. And they don't know why. They need to rebuild it or fix it. We basically go through the process that I go through when I invest in businesses. So when I invest in a business, when I invest my time, my money, and my attention in business, I typically bring the partners in that business in, and we do 2 or 3 days together, reframing the business, so to speak. Because there's usually always a bunch of work that didn't get done when the business was started. Because most of us that do start a business, weirdly enough, almost start the business by accident. Something happens and all of a sudden you find yourself thrust into this business and it happens to take off. One of the worst thing that can happen to you when you start a business is it doesn't work. The second worst thing that can happen, maybe even the first worst thing that could happen, is it does work. I've seen so many companies that people just caught lightning in a jar the first time they did something and they were so busy trying to keep up that the business just had holes in it that eventually sank it. And it happened. I'll give Emma credit for that. That is her expertise at plugging those holes. She's fantastic at it. If someone could just plug hers every now and then, that'd be great. So any volunteers,
I'm good. Thank you. You remember the last time you did this and every Ignite member at AI Bot Summit came up and showed me their tongue? I'm good.
You're good?
I'm good.
All right, cool.
I'm good.
Yeah, I think that I've got a bunch to say on this, but I'll let you ask what questions you want to ask. But I think that very rarely is a funnel that worked at one time broken. Very rarely. Very rarely is, oh, my market's dried up. It does happen, but not in most markets.
Most times you're offer fatigue.
Yeah.
Not the market.
And
dried
people-
up. on trends,
Right.
markets can
But
dry
people
up.
inevitably, even in trends, right? If I were going to be in the trend business, if I had a product that was selling really hot right now, I'd be developing 3 more products that were going to catch the next wave of
Right.
trend. You got to think, I always think 3 products ahead. So you should always be thinking 3 products ahead. If you're not, companies like Google, Microsoft, all the bigger companies that you know the names of, the alphabet companies, they all do one thing. I've heard this a long time ago. Bill Gates was talking about it. Why do you think Microsoft's been so good over the years? Is it because it's innovative? He said, no, it's because we're consistently innovative. So they're constantly doing the next thing. They're their own competitor. So yes, do offers fatigue? Yeah. There's all kinds of ways to fix that though, right? But people just try to ride the same horse. I'll tell a good Clayton Makepeace story in a minute on one of my offers that I got really embarrassed by Clayton.
There's nothing that I have to say now. All I want to hear is that.
I had an offer. We had an offer. It was an upsell offer. And if you think your offer is fatiguing and it's an upsell offer, I can tell you 100% without question you're wrong. Because if the general public doesn't see that offer until somebody's already bought something, it can't fatigue.
Right.
It has no way to fatigue. It's an impossibility that fatigues. But so when you see conversions drop off on upsells, for instance, in my opinion, generally it's a technical issue. It's oftentimes a technical issue. You're at a speed issue, something like that. You got a credit card processing issue, something along those lines.
Can I speak to that for a moment? And I'm sorry.
No, you disagree all you want.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm sorry.
You should be sorry to disagree with my vast knowledge and experience.
If you see it fall off and not just stop,
yeah,
it's probably because you did a split test that got you a bump on the front end and took away your desire to buy. That's
1,000%
99 times out of 100. When I see a decrease in sales on my upsell, it's somewhere.
It's a fine point.
And I have to come back and look at the past 3 split tests. People don't look at the entirety of a split test. When you run a split test and you get a bump on the front end, you need to actually be looking what happened down the line. And if you're on a continuity product, what happened with continuity? Because you can get a massive bump of buyers on the front end. And for most of us, we don't make money on our front end. We make money on day 45.
Right.
So we need that. So you need to be looking down the line. Every time you call a split test, you need to recall that split test in 90 days and then in 180 days and look at what happened, because you may want to dial that back and may not have one.
I've never seen. I'm glad you brought it up because you're absolutely right.
I'm a big ops and split testing. If you don't have an operator in your marketing department looking at split testing and making sure the ecosystem that you're creating is actually really looked at, not because marketers are gamblers.
Yeah.
And when they're split testing, that's all they're doing is
wanting to be right.
But they get
more than they want money, they want to be right.
100%. 100%. Operators want money. They don't care to be right. We want to do the right thing. And
You said that.
For us, it's like the dopamine hits in 90 days and 180 days. For the marketers, it hits when I got a 1% bump on my conversion rate. My 1% bump on my conversion rate can cost me $1 million. And I can't tell you the amount. I have never come into a client, including your company, ever, where they went back and looked at split tests 90 days and 180 days after. Ever.
Good point. I've definitely seen where just adding an order bump to a front end product can absolutely decimate an upsell.
Yep. So an order bump, or what is the thing where it's, my goodness, you get the 136, and then you get the order bump, which you can get 3 more bottles for $60 less than the first $3 bottles you bought. And then the other one people do all the time is get 10% off continuity on the step 1. Do you know what I'm talking about? No. This is actually a newer thing, but it'll kill your upsell flow. So what they'll do is, to get them to opt into the continuity, is they'll pay $69 today or get 10% off and sign up for our subscription service. That'll hit a lot. It's like a thing that comes up.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. I can't in my head. You've seen it on Amazon. At the top it says
subscribe
buy now,
and save,
and then at the bottom it says subscribe and save. It's very similar to that. That'll kill your next steps as well.
Really? Yeah. It's funny.
Not always.
When you ask people a lot of questions, when you ask anybody, if I meet a girl in the bar, I say, hey, you want to go get a drink? You want to go to my house? You want to go to bed? If I ask those that quickly, in that order, odds are people have to warm up to these things a little bit. So you might get one or two yeses. So be careful where you place the yes that you want. You want to place it in the most impactful position. Yeah, I think funnels sound like the simplest thing in the world.
Oh.
And they're everything but the simplest thing in the world.
They're a puzzle.
Yeah.
And the puzzle shifts with every product and not even every type of product. I've done 3 ED products. We did one. It was $7 million a month. It was incredible. So let's mimic everything after that. I don't know why the next one didn't work. It was the exact same thing. We had to change the entire damn funnel. Could have been the colors, could have been the name, could have been the voice on the VSL.
Could have been the pond you were fishing in. We did a product that was a gold buying product, how to buy scrap gold product. It was my story. I recorded it. I did okay. Greg Plummer, who worked for me then, re-recorded it. His did a little less than mine. We hired the Whataburger guy. The Whataburger. That guy?
I have no idea the guy.
He does all the commercials here in Texas for Whataburger.
I guess because I don't watch TV.
He's on radio.
Okay.
We hired him,
sure.
And his voice is, if you want to buy scrap gold, this is the place to do it. 120% bump.
Yeah.
In a voice.
And not enough people test actors
crazy.
And voices on there.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think that's the biggest violator. I'll tell you the biggest violator of what I think is going on with people's funnels now, because people are blaming the funnel, like you said, I think earlier. They're blaming the funnel for shitty marketing. So what happened over the last couple of years, people calling themselves marketers were targeters.
Right.
So they could target a guy in the middle of the Mojave Desert dying of thirst, hold up a sign that said water. Guess what? You sell water. So if you can accurately target the 18 people on the planet that really want your thing, then your marketing doesn't have to be very good. And the assumptions go to what I believe is total bullshit. And I argue right now with some of our people about this, and even you sometimes in certain offers where I say, we need a sales letter here. And nobody else has sales letters. Everybody else has these short things. They don't have sales letters. Nobody takes the time to read sales letters anymore.
I didn't argue with you about that.
It's total bullshit. It's absolutely true that they do. And there's some proof behind it, by the way. There was a guy named Jeff Paul. There was a guy named Jeff Paul back 100 years ago that ran these ads in Business Opportunity magazines. They were 2,000 word long form sales letter ads with 7-point font in major magazines, Business Opportunity magazines, Entrepreneur, places like that. Made millions and millions of dollars. The average person turns a page in a magazine every 7 seconds. It took you 10 to 12 minutes to read his sales letter. The only people that read the sales letter were the ones that were going to buy. If you don't get people, this is a fact. This is an absolute fact. People will not give you their money without first giving you their time. That is a fact. So the more time that you can capture with somebody, the more the odds are of you making a sale. The more time that you can capture with someone, the bigger the ticket is.
Yeah, I never argued.
You can make.
I never argued with you. I think that you took the conversation that we had on, hey, I modeled this because this is what everybody's doing. I'm a big fan of sales letters. I love testing TSLs against VSLs.
Yeah.
I'm a
TSL being a
text sales letter.
The text sales letter versus a video sales letter.
Video sales letter. I have almost always won with VSL. I have found that, if I may.
I've won a lot with text.
Yeah, a lot of people say that.
It depends on the style of the copywriter, too. How good's the copywriter?
You have to have a copywriter that knows, a copywriter that writes it. It's very few copywriters that write both.
Yeah.
Very few that write both. So you have to have a good copywriter writing the VSL. Yeah. The second component is everybody wants these highly produced, high quality, 1080p, gorgeous VSLs that are so polished. Here's the problem with that. They buffer.
Yeah, and they cost 40 grand.
And I paid $100,000 for a VSL for a product that was doing us $8 million a month. So I don't care about that. It's a cost doing business. But if it's a highly polished, put together, it's perfectly fine in that lower grade fuzzy, because as long as it never does this.
Right.
When it does this, you're screwed and you're going to drop. So there's a lot of knowledge that needs to go into when you're building a funnel. You can have great marketing and poor execution.
Sure.
And it not work. On the tech side, you can have a phenomenal tech and shitty marketing. It doesn't work. There are multiple. You need your images right, your graphics. You need things placed correctly on the page. You need things broken on the page correctly. You need your video or your text done properly. You need every single piece of what goes into a sales letter has to be done.
But that still won't work if you've not hit the emotional.
I was just going to say
bullets that you need. You've not fired those emotional bullets you need to fire.
But if your copy speaks to a pain point with a solution and paints a picture of what it looks like when that pain doesn't exist in your life anymore.
Yeah.
You can have all that on a page. If it's scattered in the wrong colors and in the wrong places, it doesn't matter. So it's like when people come to me and they say, Emma, what department is the most important in a business? There's no such thing. Without customer service, we can't keep our money. Without marketing, we can't sell anything. Without operations, we can't deliver anything.
Correct.
Without inventory, we can't send anything to our customers. Every single component, and it's the same in a funnel, but people don't think through, great, you're a good marketer. What about your trust icons? What about your guarantees? What about your interstitial pages? What about your bonuses?
And those are all.
What about your premiums? Are they all there?
1,000 cuts stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Because there's a million places your funnel can go wrong.
I suck at all that. What I'm good at is figuring out.
You're good at the one part I'm terrible at.
You've got the hardest part for me, and I think most great copywriters would tell you if they're honest with you, a good copywriter spends 95% of their time trying to figure out how they're going to hit that customer right between the eyes. That's the
one thing I'll never do. Everything else in the funnel I got. Deliver me the copy, I got the rest.
You got to figure out exactly. If you watch that show Lucifer, have you ever watched that show?
Do you think I've ever watched that show?
I don't know.
I don't watch TV.
It's a great show. But
he also says that Tombstone's a great show.
Yeah, Tombstone sucks. Everybody tell Emma to go fuck herself about Tombstone, because Tombstone's amazing.
Such a waste of time to watch other people live their lives on TV.
But Lucifer is a show about the devil comes to earth and becomes a detective. It's a goofy premise, but he looks everybody in the eye and he says, "What do you really desire?"
I know why you like the show.
And it
reminds you of your missing daddy.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. So if you can look at the customer in the eye and they were to confess to you what they really desire, copy becomes very easy.
What's your trick to getting that? I talked to Nick Verge. You're going to meet him at Driven next week.
Yeah, Nick's brilliant, by the way.
Yeah, no, I know. That's why I had him on. I had him on my. Brilliant. I had him on my.
It's hard.
You know what he does? Calls the customers.
I've done that. I do.
Calls the customers and he just says, I just ask them the most intrusive questions. Give me 5 of them. They're never going to buy from you again. But I'm going to ask them the most intrusive questions. I'm going to know everything about them. And then I got it.
There's a couple of ways to find out. If you want to find out in generalities,
Reddit.
Go to Reddit. Go to Reddit and Facebook groups and see. You can actually go to Reddit or a Reddit thread now or a Facebook group and take that Reddit thread and drop it into chat and say,
create me a mechanism and a big idea.
What are the people here most upset about? What do they most desire? What's their biggest fear? What's their biggest hope? And it'll tell you that's okay. One of the things that I found but once you've learned that, you can't just be blunt about it. It's a lot like dating. Guys go out to clubs, girls go out to clubs. Guess why both of them go to clubs? Same reason. They both want to meet somebody. They both want to be intimate, whatever. But you can't just go up and say, hey, you want to go hit it in the back of my truck? Maybe the guys you dated. But it won't work. And if you do get a girl to answer yes to that, you don't want to take her home to mama, and you probably want to
didn't you marry all 5 of them?
You probably want to go get a shot afterwards.
I'm pretty sure you married all 5 of them.
The point is, you have to then write a hook with some degree of subtlety to it. There has to be some degree of elegance to what you're doing. I got a trick for that that's really good. We interrupt this pod to bring you this really special announcement. You need to go right now. Well, maybe do they want to go right now? Want to stop?
No, at the end. We don't want to have them stop.
Go to trainwreckshow.com. There's lots of bots there, GPT bots that do things for you, that do a lot of your work. So you don't have to work so much and drink more beer. The episode archives are over there. There's all of our resources, worksheets, workbooks. Everything that we've done that we give away is over there. Go get it right now. There's a lot of resources there. Way more resources than you get when you buy a lot of communities, I think.
And don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can catch every episode as soon as it hits. We'll send you a notification.
It doesn't mean you're liking Emma, by the way, because I know that slows us down on our likes. You can just click and say, I like Perry. You don't have to like Emma. It works the same way. If you're writing about a problem, a pain point, let's say it's you've got a rebellious teenager, right? You can write teenager, go to Google and write teenager. You put quotations around this phrase, teenager so bad. And then outside the brackets, you write forum, F-O-R-U-M. And it'll go find message forums. My teenager is so bad that, my acne is so bad that, my vaginal odor is so bad that, whatever the case may be, you'll find stories so far ridiculous beyond what the average person has.
My Alzheimer's is getting so that
I don't remember the rest of this sentence.
My crabs are getting so bad that
pole vault.
My 5 alimony payments are getting so bad that don't fuck around, because we can fuck around and find out.
But seriously, you will find these stories. And let me tell you, it is really a great idea to talk about people who have a basic problem. Talk about the person who has the same problem, but way worse than them. If you look at the old commercials for Herbalife back in the day, they used to have a guy named Marvin
I studied these.
Marvin Dignard. This guy weighed 550 pounds and he lost 250 pounds on Herbalife, supposedly.
He actually got a gastric bypass.
He was the reason
they got sued for it.
He was the reason they sold billions of dollars for the Herbalife.
Yeah.
There was an ad.
Jared from Subway.
There was an ad that ran for years for this company in Entrepreneur Magazine called Pace Products, and they sell roof coating products as a business opportunity. And they had a guy, they ran this guy, he was probably dead 20 years, they're still running his ad. He's holding a big check, and he looks like he got hit in the head with a shovel. He's cockeyed and stupid looking.
Like you?
Yeah. And
does he have the I like you?
Yeah. And it says, I made $23,416 in my first Pace job. And people instantly, they didn't even have to read the copy. They would look at that and go, if that idiot made $25,000, I'm going to make $1 million.
Yeah.
That we did there's a guy named Nathan Jerowitz, great guy in the real estate space. And I wrote a sales letter for him. And I said, you got to find me your worst student that's done something. And he had this guy, I'm trying to think of the guy's name, but it was like Melvin or something like that. I think it was Melvin maybe. And we had Melvin record a video because Melvin was about to bubble off mentally impaired. And he had made $14,000 on a house flip. First one he ever did. And he had a neck brace on, I think faking an auto accident, right? And we left the neck brace on him and put him on camera. And he said, my name's Melvin, and I made $15,216 in my first house flip. So nana nana boo. I wrote the words nana nana boo in the copy. Murder.
I bet it did, because if you're retarded and you can make that kind of money, and I'm
murder, just
wow.
murder. So I think it's one of the reasons I'm successful in this business. If that idiot can do it, anybody can do it.
Right.
Yeah, Chris Haddad is a brilliant copywriter, and he practices this method called the pig method, the punch in the gut method.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to get attention in today's world, you've got to stir an emotion. You got to make people laugh. You got to make them cry. You got to make them mad. You got to make them happy. And we're all trying to make them happy.
Right.
Because we're marketers and we want to sell sunshine and rainbows. It's the worst angle you can take. People will pay so much more money to escape pain. And people, I can't sell pain. I'm IBM and I sell computers. How do I sell pain? IBM's a great example. They don't publish this. But IBM's unpublished headline for ever was, we have the fastest computers in the world. Nope. We have the best computers in the world. Nope. We have the cheapest computers in the world. Nope. None of those things. Their unwritten headline was, nobody ever got fired for choosing IBM.
That's actually a really good headline.
But they never published that. But that was what all the sales reps would tell the people.
That's a really good headline.
You do whatever you want, but I can tell you now, nobody ever got fired for choosing IBM. We're the most expensive, but we're the most reliable. So if you're this mid-level government worker who gets to choose a computer system, guess what? What are you worried about? How good the computer is or getting fired if it sucks? And that was how IBM got to be enormous.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
All right. So just to wrap things up, anything I missed on talking about the funnel?
You were going to talk about a funnel that wasn't broken but had no soul that you worked on.
Okay. I skipped over that intentionally, but we will. So there was a funnel I worked on not that long ago. I had to be careful. So it was an offer that solved a disease. Mm-hmm. And the disease is one of those types of things that would lead you to have a very low quality of life. Mm-hmm. So the funnel did phenomenal on the front end, did terrible on the back end, and the returns and the chargebacks were crazy. And the reason is because it had no soul. It was soulless. It was a dirty ass marketer who put a guy on top of a roof, and the guy was going to jump off the roof and kill himself as the opening to the VSL. And so it was that gut punch that everyone who had.
They call those now, those are called horror headlines.
Yes.
They're becoming a popular thing, believe me.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
And there is a way to do them. You're missing your grandchildren's first time at the park because I'm not a copywriter, because your joints are hurting. And then you end with them at the park swinging their grandkids.
Sure.
So those are okay. Then you have people who are writing, you got a guy standing on top of a roof about to kill himself because he has a very curable disease, but modern medicine wants to keep him in disease because it's more profitable. And the whole thing is this. And then you get
for any government lady, this was not an offer of mine or anyone I was associated with in any way, shape, or form.
So one of the things that I do with my company, Shockwave, is we come in, if someone has a funnel that's broken or not compliant, we'll come in and make it compliant. I can't always get the numbers that non-compliant copy can get, but I can usually get pretty decent.
I always say it's hard to make money selling snow cones on a corner where everybody else is selling crack.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But if you do it righteously, you can scale and you can be very public about it.
The secret's emotions.
Yeah, 100%. So what we did was we came in, and also the back end was so terrible because they were selling a white label product that was basically bullshit in a bottle. So I paid $69 and you made me feel like, my quality of life is so bad. I should just go kill myself or take this bottle. That's how you felt. And then you get the bottle and it does absolutely nothing for you. So we did a couple of things. Number one, we made a good product. We did a bunch of research, and we reformulated a customized formula. It was a $60 million product, by the way, so we could afford to do this. And we told him it wasn't going to be a $60 million product anymore. It was a $60 million product, but his chargebacks were at 5.5%. He was about to get kicked off of
everything
platforms like ClickBank and Digistore for it. His refund rate was outrageous. It was like 45-50%. And he had a lot of customer complaints. And so we definitely need to dial that back. So you're going to keep a lot more of the money.
Sure.
You're going to make nearly as much, but you're going to keep a lot more of the money. We redesigned the copy we still took the pain point and we realigned it. We hired a phenomenal copywriter, Randall Pruitt. He's a great copywriter for VSLs in the health space. We hired him, and he's not cheap. He's expensive. I think it was like $30,000 just to write the copy. And then Kristen Carnarcione came in for $50,000-$60,000, and he filmed and produced the entire copy and edited it and then created the ads. And so what we did was we just took a really crappy product with really great evil marketing and made really great good marketing into something amazing. But also we moved the funnel from a Digistore ClickBank funnel to a sticky.io funnel because I can test everything. I have so much control over everything. So in order to get big lifts, I've got to be able to split test.
There's nothing wrong with going back to those platforms afterward for your affiliate marketing and things like that.
Not at all. But the problem is he was there because he was afraid he was going to lose his merchant account.
Sure.
So we may as well go ahead and keep a lot more of the money and be able to test everything on the other platform. There's absolute uses for those platforms. I'm not saying there's not, but when you're doing millions and you want to get lifts, it's really hard to get lifts at a certain level. So you want to be able to test checkout pages and you want to be able to test things that you can't test on those types of platforms, which fair enough. They're supplying your mids, your customer service, your affiliates, everything else. So we brought him over there and we built a beautiful funnel. It was a 136. The upsell was a product that was for sleep that went with. So this one's for day, this one's for sleep. And then we even had a third upsell, which I'm trying not to give the disease away because everybody will know. Yeah. But the third product was accelerator to the first product. Okay. And then we put in an interstitial page. For those of you that aren't familiar with an interstitial page, like number one, we wrote 5 ebooks on the product. 3 ebooks were about the disease or the product, the raws, all those things. One was a recipe guide. No matter what thing someone is suffering from, let food be thy medicine. You teach that, and different foods can do different things, from diabetes to tinnitus to eyesight to too much nose hair like Perry. You've got something that you can eat, and then you create a recipe guide based off of that, and then you break down why those foods are so good in the last product. So you got 5 bonuses. So on your interstitial page, you've got, okay, you just bought 3 bottles. Here's the value. Here's what you're paying. Here's the book 1. Here's the value. Here's what you're paying, which is 0. And the same for the other 4 books. And then you go into your checkout page, which your guarantee is at the top. And on the right-hand side is your checkout information. This has always been a winning formula for me when it comes to supplements.
Okay.
And from there, we made sure we had our trust icons. And then you go into your upsell flow. And so our upsell flow was also well designed. It wasn't just garbage. Am I boring you?
No.
It wasn't well designed. It was a lot of people will over design their sales page and just put a bunch of nonsense text on their upsells. We did the upsells. Randall also wrote each of the upsells. We put time and care into that. We tested that a ton. And so our take rates were pretty decent. I want to say we got like a 20 to 22 on upsell 1 and like a 13 on upsell 3. It was forced continuity, but they got an email that just said, reply to this email, cancel today. And so it went from, we made a lot of money, but we didn't keep any money after expenses, to we made about half the money, but we kept about half the money that we made.
And the thing with reasonable offers, if you can learn, I still think the most powerful skill in the world is emotional storytelling. There's nothing that will change the world more than emotional storytelling. And if you learn that, those offers tend to be more regulatorily compliant, and they have life. They have a long life. You see these guys that go out and do these crazy big super promise things and blow up, and they're in the market, and 6 months later, man, that offer's killing it. They're doing $100,000 a day. And then the next thing you hear, that offer is vamoose. It's vanished. Where you can have people like our friend Emily, who has a back offer. She's been running the same offer for 12 years?
Something like that.
10, 12 years. It's not
I haven't seen it in a while.
It's not still doing great. It's not.
I'm sure it is.
It's not hot in claims. It's reasonable in claims. It's a good, solid product on the back end. People are happy with it. If the product, I've got this rule, and it's really hard to follow in direct response marketing. If the client's not going to be happy, not be glad they made that purchase 1 year from today, I think you're barking up a tree.
Yeah.
You're wasting your time because you're going to...
Hold on. Let's back up
a bunch
for a
of
minute.
money.
There are a lot of people who get in business for a year and then want to rinse and repeat. That's their business.
Yeah.
We're not like that. We don't want that. We want brands
I
that
just
can
don't see
sell.
why one would do that. If you're really young, you got a lot of energy and you want to play whack-a-mole.
I'll tell you why. They don't understand how to run a business. They met someone that's been very rich doing that. It's generally speaking, it's because they have no idea. When you see someone like that, they have no idea how to really run a business.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. They love to say, I've had 10 businesses in the past 10 years make me $100 million. Did you exit any of them?
Nope.
Oh, no, we wound them down.
Yeah, we want them down.
You didn't sell them?
Nope.
You're not still selling?
They're not sellable.
So those are the people I want to stay away from because those are people that will end up in jail.
I don't care at all about that kind of business.
No, me neither. Neither do I. I won't work. You can't pay me the money to work in that business.
Businesses don't have exit potential. Mm-hmm. No, there's a place to have a business that doesn't have exit potential. If it's just a cash cow business, like an advisory or a consulting business or something like that, where you are the product and people are like, I don't ever trade hours for money. Bullshit. Everybody trades hours for money in one form or another.
We talk about this all the time.
But the conversation back to funnels, just really quickly, if you're these uncompliant funnels that aren't going to last very long, if you want to do that, if you're watching that as your homework and that's your target you're going for, God help you, man. Because you're cheating off somebody's homework that's about to get an F. Right. And they might get it in an orange suit. Orange is not my color. But if you're trying to, I think to wrap up, I guess, on this, if you got a funnel you don't think's working anymore, I would really look at, did it ever really work? Did it ever really work without this hyper targeting where you were limited to this really tiny group of people to sell it to? Are you hitting an emotional element? Like I wrote a weight loss offer one time that was just a story about a girl going to get a bridesmaid's dress, and she had to pick her dress from the back of the rack where the bigger sizes were, and she went in the dressing room and all of her girlfriends were out front waiting for her to come out, and she was curled up crying in the dressing room because the biggest size dress they had didn't fit her.
That's so good.
That destroyed. It just killed because, and I never made any claims. There were no claims in that letter. There was just this story that everyone identified with. And so getting that punch in the gut.
I'll put a little caveat in here. Ryan Poteet would tell you that if you tell a story like that and it's a made up story, it's not compliant copy. Ryan Poteet can go fuck himself.
But what's a made up story? Has that never happened to anybody?
What you need to do when you do a story like that is interview someone who had that story.
Well, I usually find a so bad.
Yeah.
I'll find a so bad story somewhere and take it from there. And then offers still need copy. The fast throughput offers, well, we can't put very much copy because people don't pay any attention anymore.
That's insane.
Then you will only sell low ticket products.
Yeah.
Because
you may not even do that.
Yeah, you may not do that. So if you look at infomercials.
I just want to say something to this. But they're not going to read all that copy. You're going to put a gazillion pieces of freaking words on the page. But they're going to read components and they're going to skim it and they're going to scan it.
Perry has a formula. Big promise headline.
Yep.
Some introductory copy with a story.
Yep.
And then everything else till you get to the offer is boiled chicken general information. Because one of the big mistakes people make with long form copy, and this could be in a VSL, this can be in watch when your drop-offs happen in a VSL. It's when you just made an additional claim that you did not substantiate. So when someone is, generally speaking, or when you've made a claim that the audience doesn't care about, or you've added a bonus sometimes that they thought was probably in the core product. Think about it. If you're going to buy a car, you say, hey, if you buy the car today, we're going to bonus in 4 tires. Wait a minute.
It doesn't come with the tires?
What else is missing? It immediately bings your brain to that.
Am I going to have brakes?
But when you're making additional claims throughout the letter, even if they're small claims, if you've got a health product that's good for, I don't know, joint pain or whatever,
we don't say pain.
Joint discomfort, let's say. I don't do supplements at all, by the way. But if you're joint discomfort and you're saying down in the copy, and it can help you lose weight, and it clears brain fog.
Curcumin, and this is what happens all the time. Curcumin 3 has diabetes.
Right.
Again, you never ever use.
It has all
you
these
don't
other,
even use discomfort.
All
you
these
would
other
say
benefits.
You would say joint health supports healthy joints or joint health. You would not say discomfort. You would not say pain. But if you look at curcumin 3, it lowers or stabilizes blood sugar. It helps you with focus. It helps you lose weight. It helps you with your joints. It has so many.
The more you talk about that, the less
you can only have one big idea.
Period.
You can have the same product copied 8 times with
sell it 8 different ways.
different mechanisms.
Way better off.
But you cannot be putting, you're going to lose weight and your joints are going to feel better And you're going to be more
Well,
focused.
the problem if you do that, it is possible to do it, but
you have to be a master in it.
Well, and what you have to do is you have to prove, you have to spend a lot of time after each of those statements proving that statement to be true.
You're going to lose them.
And when you're just going through and rattling off these claims, the easiest way to understand it, I think, is dating. Guy goes on a date with a girl. When you're on a first date with a woman, let me tell you, you ain't on a date, bro. You're in an interview. That's what you're doing. And the more she's trying to make you comfortable enough that you start talking about sleeping on your mom's couch in the basement, right? But you're going to go through and make all these claims about how great you are. Everybody's trying to sell themselves as the end all be all. And the more you do that, she may have found something about you that she liked. But you're going to start talking about all these other things you're awesome at and all these other things that you have and how terrific you are.
Turns you off.
And she's going to call bullshit on one of those.
And then so everything's going to be.
The minute she calls bullshit on one thing, you're dead. Everything is unbelievable. And then lastly, I think just if you're going to spend time optimizing your funnel, funnels are a good word. I would almost call them pipes more than funnels because they're not really funnels. They're pipes. So you're just sending somebody down. Instead of sitting down at a restaurant and having a meal delivered to you, you're walking through a cafeteria line, right? So if something isn't appetizing at the very beginning, you're very liable just to turn around and leave the cafeteria. All the optimization in a funnel is magnified the earlier in the funnel that optimization happens. For instance, wouldn't you say, so I guess your front end product would be the place to start, right? No. Your ad targeting is the place to start. Your ad copy is the next thing. The click to go to the landing page and the look of it. If you're selling something via email, even more, what email list are you going to? What email subject line do you have? How readable was the body? How convincing was the call to action in the email? You got 5 steps before they ever see a landing page, and everybody's spending their fucking time working on the upsell. If you don't get those front metrics right, those back metrics don't matter at all. The upsell, generally speaking, takes care of itself. It's the easiest part of the sales process, even though it's the most expensive, generally speaking. The front end's the hardest part. Yeah. And the more you spend your time focused in on the front end of your funnels, you'll see them begin to work. And that's why we teach that always. We always are trying our very best to teach that. And I've got some really cool GPTs that I'll give you guys on.
I'd like to add one thing before you go into the GPTs and what you just said, because I think it's really important. Any funnel, I don't care how bad it is, any funnel could be fixed through split testing. Any funnel. Because it depends.
Assuming there's a market that wants your product, yeah.
Okay.
And there's a market for almost anything.
Fair, but I don't know. You can sell.
Emma got married, right?
Twice, actually.
It's a market for it. See, years ago, as in the car business, we bought a green gremlin, and it was on a lot. I said, "Who the hell's going to buy a green gremlin?" And he said, "Son, my old sales manager says, son, there's an ass for every seat." So there is a market for practically anything.
Do you want me to finish?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So you can fix almost any funnel with split testing. The problem that I see all the time is people will try and split test 10 things at the same time. You don't know what made the change. So it doesn't make sense. I watched one guy, he wanted to take his copy on his control and test it against a copywriter's new copy. And this copywriter sucks. She's doing so much worse. And I looked, and his whole page, his colors were different, his images were different, his entire checkout system was different, everything was different. And so when I explained it to him and he changed it to just the copy being changed, that copywriter beat his control by about 4 times. So only one big swing at a time. Only ever test one thing at a time. And make sure you reach statistical significance. I cannot tell you how many times people are like, I got 40 sales and it's very clear it's number one. And then after we've gotten statistically significant, it was actually the other one. I can't tell you how many times that's happened. Unless it's like you're really close and it's astronomically the other way. I don't kill a test until it's statistically significant and I test one thing one big swing at a time.
What do you call statistically significant? I know Facebook says 185 conversions.
So for me, I want to see at least 100 sales on the winner and about 150 to 180 conversions.
Okay.
But your platform,
Yeah.
whether you're using Google Optimize or VWO, we use VWO, it'll tell you when it's reached statistical significance because VWO is really smart. So VWO will realize that if people clicked and they clicked off really quickly, that's not always a sign of they didn't
Do a traffic to market match, a traffic to product match.
So it isn't even that. It's like I can click at work and see it's a VSL and immediately click off because I can't watch a VSL at work. So they understand that there's a certain amount of time that they have to hold on that page for that click to count. And there's a lot of different factors to that. I trust my tools to tell me when statistical significance. But if I don't see 100 sales on the winner, no way.
I still do probably better most times with long form copy than VSL. And I think the reason why that's true is I still write pretty good copy.
Yeah, I don't think it's, you write pretty good TSL copy. If you wrote good VSL copy, you'd probably win on VSL.
I don't know. Because here's what I believe. I believe that everybody that was a copywriter started writing VSLs that got paid big money to write VSLs. So they stopped writing text sales letters and you got schlocks writing text sales letters.
No.
So I don't know. It's a different skill. Who knows?
Yeah, I tested Stefan Georgi against Stefan Georgi. I tested Mario against Mario. I tested Luke against Mario. So I don't know. I think that there are different demographics to different products.
So many variables because how good a storyteller are you? If you're a great storyteller, long form text works great. If you're and here's what I believe. I don't think VSLs are going to work on Gen Zs. I don't think so either.
I just don't. I don't think TSLs are going to work on Gen Zs. They're going to need shorter increments of something. This is really interesting, and it did really well. It got killed for a couple of reasons, but we took a VSL, Kristen Carnosian and I took a VSL, and we made it look like shorts going like this.
I've seen that.
We were the first ones to do it.
I've seen it done.
We were the first ones to do it.
You paste placards in your stories, just text placards in your stories you can fan through.
This was a VSL that looked like
That's interesting.
A nonstop reel. We were the first ones to do it. I don't know if people are doing it now, but we were the first ones to do it. And we had a quiz funnel on the front. We had a younger demographic, we had an older demographic, and then we had 5 mechanisms to each.
Interesting.
And so whatever they picked was the VSL they saw.
Hey.
And it went so far as geographic location. So if you came to me from London town, you heard you're going to lose 12 stones. If you came to me from Portugal, you heard you're going to lose 8 kilograms. If you came to me from the United States, you're going to lose 12 pounds. And none of those numbers are right. I'm making that up. None of those numbers are right. But this was a crazy funnel. But if you were on the younger demographic, we tested the reel. And the younger demographic, we got such a lift. It was crazy.
Well, I think we're up on time today.
We've
got a couple things I want to give you guys. I've got a GPT that kind of helps you find the pain and the hidden pain and the hidden pleasure within your market, which is an interesting thing to find. And I've got a one sheet product that's worth a lot of money. It's just a piece of paper, and you guys can have it. It's called 43 split tests. So we offered this for sale years ago for a lot of money. We sold it for a lot of money, but we went through and picked the 43 primary things that you can split test in order of impact, in traditional order of impact. Anybody want to guess what number 1 is? Everybody
Headlines.
Thinks it's headlines. It's
not headlines. What is it?
It's price.
Right. Oh yeah, you always test the price point.
Nothing
first.
impacts.
You always test the price
impacts
point
more
first,
than price.
right?
So with all these people tell you, price doesn't matter if you sell it good enough. Horse shit. Price matters.
But I'll go back
emphatically.
I'll go back to what I originally said. You have to go back 90 days and 180 days later and see what the long-term effects of that price
was. How did that change the value of the customer?
Because we've had $69 went over 47, and then 180 days later we're like, oh, we made a lot more money on those $47 people over 6 months.
Well, you got pricing chasms. Do a whole show on pricing someday. It'd be fun.
Yeah, that's a subject I love.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much. Be sure to go to trainwreckshow.com right now. Get the resources that are here for free. There's a lot more resources. In every episode that we film, we put resources, custom GPTs, tools, robots, all kinds of stuff in there for you guys that are apps. It's the only place that Em and I give away tons and tons of stuff for free. So go there and get your resources now. And hopefully you get enough value out of that. You come back and watch our show again, and maybe we'll see you at an event or somewhere in the future. Thanks a lot for being on the Trainwreck Show.
Thank you.
Thanks, Emma.